This video is sponsored by Movement Watches and Sunglasses. More on Movement at the end of this video. Hey Wisecrack, Jared here. Today we're talking about the story of a guy who takes down the finance industry as he talks to imaginary friends. That's right, Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot follows hoodie-clad hacker Elliot Alderson as he and his buddies instigate a revolution and take down E-Corp, a fictional megacorporation that's the gold standard of corporate malevolence, a conglomeration of Bank of America, Walmart, and Enron. Also, Elliot's crazy.
I'm crazy. I'm crazy. You're crazy. This is crazy.
On the surface, Mr. Robot is a show criticizing capitalism.
Talking about the type of money that makes you question right and wrong.
But to really understand Mr. Robot, we have to dig deeper into an idea that is woven into the very fabric of the show: alienation. Alienation means to be estranged and isolated. In the parlance of Mr. Robot, disconnected. Philosophy deals with different kinds of alienation. There's alienation from humanity, from the world, and even personal alienation, where you've become a stranger to yourself. Mr. Robot explores them all. Welcome to this Wisecrack edition on the philosophy of Mr. Robot. Oh, and spoiler alert. Mr. Robot is about lonely people trying to connect. Sometimes that means quite literally connecting illegally to other people's computers. Agent DiPiero has no life.
I have no life.
And struggles to connect with both strange men on the internet and her Amazon Alexa.
Alexa, are we friends?
Elliot struggles to connect with his family, his past, his friends, and even reality. And the masses, according to Elliot, can only connect to each other through Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. The show even employs visual tricks to emphasize the distance between characters, such as wide-angle lenses and framing characters near the edge of the screen. Elliot's inability to connect is caused by more than just his social anxiety or that he talks to his dead father. Instead, Elliot's alienation has everything to do with God. Let me explain. Elliot is unable to understand his actions, his motives, or even his relationship to other people. Mr. Robot takes charge of Elliot's physical body, interacting with people on his behalf, all while Elliot is completely unaware that anything has transpired. As a result, Elliot is unable to understand his relationship with his sister, Darlene, or anyone else he might have interacted with as Mr. Robot. And while Elliot's psychosis makes his alienation from himself and others unique, the logic that dictates that psychosis is nearly universal.
You've gotta be kidding me.
For German philosopher Ludwig Feuerbach, whose name means fire stream, but I digress, God was the primary engine of alienation during the 19th century. Humans created the figure of God, according to Feuerbach, and instilled him with their highest ideals: justice, love, wisdom, and so on. But, being a forgetful species, they forgot, looked at this virtuous God and said, hey, we're so much like this guy, he made us just like him. In this way, the fact that man made God in man's image is inverted to God created man in God's image. As a result, Christianity is alienating. We become estranged from our ideals, ourselves, and each other because we can only relate to them through the medium of God, a figure that we've since lost control of. If this seems strangely familiar, it should. Elliot creates the figure of Mr. Robot, forgets he created him, and then goes about letting Mr. Robot run his life. In good Feuerbachian fashion, Elliot says,
Mr. Robot has become my god.
And even creates Mr. Robot in his own crazy image. Mr. Robot is even likened to an omniscient god, always watching.
Mr. Robot, the ever-present silent observer.
Elliot's first response to the problem of Mr. Robot is to get rid of him. He pumps himself full of Adderall and starts journaling in the hopes that he can kill him off. This, in a way, parallels the atheist response to God.
If I don't listen to my imaginary friend, why the f should I listen to yours?
We invented God, now we realize it, so let's dump God. But Elliot's therapist convinces him that the answer isn't to dump Mr. Robot. It's to accept his delusion as part of him.
At this point, I think we have to accept the fact that he is a legitimate existence in your life.
For Feuerbach, the biggest problem isn't that we invented God, it's that we inverted our relationship to God and said he created us.
I'm only supposed to be your prophet. You're supposed to be my God.
Feuerbach thinks that God is the ultimate object of thinking man, a creation that speaks to the unlimited potential of our reason. Similarly, Mr. Robot represents Elliot's highest ideals, creating a better future without Evil Corp. One of the big issues with alienation is the loss of responsibility. You know, the old, I don't hate you, God does.
It wasn't me.
Elliot either suppresses the memory of the unpleasant acts he has to commit in the name of a better future, like allegedly killing a guy,
I did it, didn't I?
or imagines Mr. Robot is responsible. In the process, Elliot is unable to directly relate to the world he helps shape or his peers, and instead has to relate through the medium of Mr. Robot. It's only when Elliot admits that Mr. Robot is his own creation that he can finally carve a path out of his own alienation.
I am Mr. Robot.
When we've mixed up the relationship between God and the world around us, the world becomes confusing. Cause and effect seem to invert themselves, reality slips away, and we lose touch with our fellow man. No longer are we the drivers of our fate, but events are laid out by the divine, or your imaginary friend. We're no longer the judge of our actions or the actions of others. God is. The rest of the world doesn't see Mr. Robot, but that doesn't stop the show from drawing an explicit connection between Elliot's delusions and theirs.
You live in a kingdom of so don't tell me about not being real.
While Mr. Robot may be Elliot's god, the masses have a different god, consumerism. Which brings us to a different kind of alienation. Show creator Sam Esmail holds nothing back in paying homage to other films critical of consumer culture. Aside from the obvious Fight Club and V for Vendetta references, one scene evokes John Carpenter's They Live, a film exploring the truth behind modern capitalism. And Tyrell Wellick is one big ode to American Psycho, a film where people become as disposable as commodities.
Sorbet?
Likewise, one of the central tenets of Mr. Robot is that consumer culture is a collective delusion, one that estranges us from the world and each other. When Mr. Robot reminds Elliot that nothing is real, he says,
"A world built on fantasy, synthetic emotions in the form of pills, psychological warfare in the form of advertising."
In season 1, Elliot decides to be normal by hearting things on Instagram, watching Marvel movies, and drinking Starbucks.
Was he drinking Starbucks?
Throughout the show, material items and wealth estrange people from their true selves. Whenever Angela Moss is confronted about her working for Evil Corp, for instance, she defends her character with displays of wealth. When she goes to buy a new pair of shoes to replace a pair covered in her coworker's brains, the salesman confronts her, saying,
You mean to tell me you witnessed this thing? And you're here to buy new shoes?
I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I'll try the Pradas next.
When again confronted at a bar by her father's friend, she responds,
I'm 27, and I've got a 6-figure salary at the biggest conglomerate in history. And I'm just getting started.
If Angela's motives seem unclear to the viewer, they're probably also unclear to her. An estranged world is a disorienting world. Angela, who stresses she needs the job Evil Corp offers her, is in the same plight as the guy who has to euthanize dogs for a living.
It's just sick.
That ain't on me, I gotta pay the bills.
Or the homeless guy who allows Tyrell to beat him senseless while wearing sterilized surgical gloves. In prison, Leon can only relate to Elliot with the prison's DVD collection, namely Seinfeld, a show about nothing.
The human condition is a straight-up tragedy, cuz.
In all of these cases, mass culture and commodities inhibit our very being. Advertising and media encourage us to destroy a part of ourselves to fit in.
We destroy parts of ourselves every day. We Photoshop our warts away. Annihilation is all we are.
It sells us pre-packaged narratives about love and life. For Elliot, only when we destroy the alienating forces of consumerism can we finally be free.
We will find our true selves again. Maybe after wiping away the thick, grimy film of Facebook friend requests and Vine stars.
Thus, Mr. Robot shows another kind of alienation, commodity fetishism. Commodity fetishism works a lot like Feuerbach's Alienation, and it should. Its creator Karl Marx appropriated Feuerbach's work for his own ends. For Marx, instead of God mediating human relations, commodities do. We imbue commodities with abstract value in such a way that everything becomes commodified. For Tyrell Wellick, every interaction is an exchange, even going so far as to use his own body in pursuit of greater wealth. In the case of the Washington Township trial, the people who died as a result of Evil Corp's actions were treated as mere commodities. Profits are more important than people's lives. It's for the same reason that Evil Corp's executives can so easily forgive Colby after he testified against them. Every action isn't some indicator of your character, but an exchange of goods and services. In the same vein, Philip Price hires Angela despite the fact that she blackmailed them. But what exactly are the stakes of alienation? In the world of Mr. Robot, it's control. For both Feuerbach and Marx, the world is the object of collective human labor, a labor that affirms our species being or our membership to the human race. Alienation destroys that species being because the world that we collectively build together has now been hijacked by someone or something else. It's no surprise then that every character from Angela to Elliot to Tyrell to Price and Minister Zhang are vying for control.
You've brought up this issue before. This issue of not feeling like you're in control.
The series even opens with a monologue about the people who have the real control in society. Secret board meetings control who lives and dies over shrimp cocktails.
So, you were drunk, eating shrimp cocktail. And it was raining when you decided my mother would die?
Young people are racked with debt, forcing them into jobs they hate. And Elliot can't stop the voice in his head from taking over his life. Minister Zhang is obsessed with time, surrounding himself with clocks, if only to remind him of the one thing he can't control.
Life is but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more.
You've surrounded yourself with a constant reminder of mortality.
Elliot is seen constantly scribbling in his notebook about control or fighting for control with Mr. Robot. He attributes Shayla's abuse by Fernando Vera to the invisible hand, the economic forces that control her life.
There it is again, the invisible hand at work, controlling us, even if it pushes us past our threshold of pain.
In his therapist's office, he likens the freedom afforded by contemporary society to the choice between Pepsi and Coke. The real question is, where's the RC Cola? Both Tyrell and Elliot blame their fathers for their lack of control. Early on, Elliot blames his father for giving up when Evil Corp poisoned him.
This is about how those bastards slowly killed your father and how you wished he'd done something about it, but he didn't. Because he was a zero. Just like you're being right now.
Tyrell never wants to become his father, whose inability to speak English was a reminder of his helplessness.
My father used to say that to me all the time as a child. It was the only English he knew.
The journal that Elliot frantically writes about control in is aptly named Red Wheelbarrow, Tyrell's own reminder of his father's impotence.
Some silly poem.
Tyrell also likens murdering Sharon Knowles to absolute power. He and others are really into playing God.
I intend to leave a legacy, the standard of which was set by God.
Elliot at times is unsure if he's Mr. Robot's God or Mr. Robot is his God. In the end, Mr. Robot shows that nobody is really in control in an alienated world. The people at the top have become victims of their own machinations. While they may try to create an illusion of control with armies of lawyers, convoluted conspiracies, and bunkered data centers, they all experience the same alienating forces as the rest of society, whether it be in the form of God or commodity fetishism. Conclusion. Mr. Robot is not only a show about lonely people trying to connect, it's about the engines that drive that loneliness. Whether it's God, our imaginary friends, or the things we own, that engine distorts our perceptions and turns reality on its head. We can never really be sure what's reality or delusion in Mr. Robot, and that's sort of the point. In an alienated world, can we be sure that any kind of reality exists? Thanks for watching, guys. But whether you're in reality or hyper-reality, you'll want to look good. So if you decided it's time to step up your game with a new watch or a new pair of sunglasses, you should check out Movement. And if you're one of the first 200 Wisecrack fans to make a purchase at mvmt.com/wisecrack using the offer code Wisecrack, you'll get $15 off your purchase. Founded on the idea that good style shouldn't break the bank, Movement cuts out the middleman, giving you designer-grade apparel at low prices. With their classic minimalist designs and quality construction, Movement's watches keep you on time and in style, all starting at $95. And their sunglasses are just cool. They're lightweight, handmade, and start at $70 with the option to polarize most pairs. So head over to mvmt.com/wisecrack or click the link in the description. Be sure to use the offer code Wisecrack to get $15 off your purchase. Free shipping and returns are included, so join the movement. Thanks to Movement for sponsoring this video. And we've got more great stuff on the way for y'all, including videos on The Exorcist, Saw, Stranger Things, and lots more. So if you haven't already, don't forget to click that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me and my dog. Catch y'all next time. Peace.